everybody, this is Leah at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at the eclipse of January 31, 2018. This has Leo and Aquarius featured. We're going to have both these signs featured and the two eclipses coming up, but we're going to deal just with the 31st for this one. So this is a full moon, and so it's got the meanings of the full moon, and then kind of it's heightened by the eclipse a bit. And just a lot of energy in Aquarius on that sort of side of the chart. When we look at a chart, we have Mercury and we have Venus joining the Sun, and then opposite of Aquarius, we have Leo and the Moon in Leo. So what does all that mean? Well, we're dealing with Aquarius. We're dealing with the sense of the collective. The masses, so the many people, and also the idea of the individual, strong, an independent streak, in a sense of being an individual and having distinct boundaries and needing, that space that an individual might need. So in the new normal, in our new world that's being formed right now, that feels very different from the way it did even 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago. So in the new normal, in our new now, our new reality, this is a very important concept, this idea of holding in one's consciousness and understanding, this idea of the individual, the rights of, the respect of, the independence of the individual, and the rights of the collective. And somehow these things go together. They seem separate, but the ability for our consciousness and our brains and our attention to hold both is very, very important. On the Leo end of things, we have a sense of what it is to lead. What does leadership look like? And so we can think large, like a president or a king or a queen. We can think like of a CEO or, the head of any organization, or maybe the head of the family. We could think like that, but we are also all leaders. Everyone is a leader. You're a leader of something. And we also are learning to be leaders of ourselves, how to manage all the different parts of our personalities, all the different parts of our ego, and all the competing interests and stuff going on. We have kingdoms inside of us that need leadership. So you're learning how to be your own leader and how to comport yourself, how to carry yourself, how to behave as such, as a leader of yourself. How do you treat your kingdom? How do you treat all the little elements? Are you a mean leader? Are you cruel? Are you vindictive to yourself? That kind of self-sabotage, or not really supporting yourself, not really participating in self-care, maybe going in the opposite direction and doing things that directly destroy your well-being or your health. What kind of leader are you? It's important as we look at the collective, at the whole society, at the world, it's important, rather than looking how other people, like that leader over there is a good leader, that leader is terrible, let me criticize how all these other people do their thing and how other people lead. Let me sit here in my armchair, on this side of the computer and criticize and send out, tweets about how bad somebody else is. But how am I, is the question we should all be asking. How am I leading myself? What kind of leader am I, just even of myself? Am I nice to myself, my kingdom, in other words? And as it flows out from me, how am I as a leader with the people around me? Do I comport myself like the leader that I am? And a leader doesn't need to lead over others, but it's sort of with Leo in this new reality, this new normal, it's like leading by example is so important. Leading by example, not because one has to, not because they should, but it's just taking on that authentic first, how do we lead ourselves, how do we treat ourselves, and then having it ripple out so that we're examples for others, for how to lead themselves and how to also maybe lead others. So this is a very important concept for everyone. For Pisces, this is impacting the zone to do with your health and mental health. So I think for a Pisces especially, it is that battle within, the kingdom within, that's so important. And maybe even for you may be showing others how to be healthy, or you may even be helping some other people who are sick. There may be some of that going on for some of you. But within that role, if you are caring for others who need a little extra help, within that role, it's so important that you are a good leader for yourself, meaning that you're kind to yourself and you believe in infrastructure building, the roads and bridges within your body, like making sure you're drinking enough water so, things can flow smoothly, and getting the right nutrients into your, metaphorical kingdom, and talking kindly to your subjects, talking kindly to yourself, and finding an inner harmony so that you have a peaceful kingdom, so to speak. But it's very internal for you. It's in your mind. How do you think about yourself? Do you see your own leadership potential, first of yourself, but then of others? But it's far more personal and internal for most of you. And that lesson of self-care it's not just paying lip service. It's not just a buzz phrase, self-care. It's a true thing that you may be focused on or understanding the importance of. So self-care, being good to yourself, to your own kingdom first, be a good leader of self, and then that ripples out and you're an example for others, and it can be quite inspirational to others. And there may also be, there's also this impact maybe at work too, demonstrating, and maybe something about your work situation, does it work for you? Can you be self-caring and be compassionate to yourself and still be in the work situation you're in? Does something else need to happen? Or maybe you're taking on leadership and you're learning how to lead in a compassionate way that starts with self. That would be, I think, a good way to go. All right, take care, guys. Hi, Aries. Okay, so we are talking about the eclipse of January 31st. And so what we're dealing with is kind of this new normal, the new reality we find ourselves in with the larger, more impactful planets that are further out for the sun are really causing some deep change, on the planet, in societies across the planet, and internally. There's just this whole new shift, and for a number of people, but not all, there's this huge shift in consciousness toward this new reality. And then, the more people who kind of shift, the more can be pulled along, but not everyone's going to get it. Not everyone's going to get the new reality. And that's maybe just the way it's supposed to be. Maybe they won't. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with them, but some people are making this shift toward this new consciousness. And with Aquarius, it is the dawning of the masses. It really does. Aquarius symbolizes in some ways on an individual level, in a very unique individual level, and also in the collective sense, this dawning, this awakening, this new frontier, this high sense of inventiveness and doing something new. This is a big part of what's going on in the world right now. If you wonder, if you walk around saying, what is happening? What's going on in the world? This is a part of it, is what we're talking about now. It has a lot to do with Aquarius and the energy of Aquarius. And because Uranus, which is very representative of Aquarius, is shaking things up, especially for you. And then we also have Leo, this idea of leadership. And again, we can look outward to the masses and leaders of the masses, leaders of larger groups, but we can also look to ourselves as leaders. We are all leaders in our own way, each in our own way, and we're leaders of ourselves first and foremost. How do we lead ourselves? What kind of leader are we? Are we kind leaders? Are we vindictive? Do we self-sabotage? Do we, talk negatively to our kingdom, to our subjects? What's it like internally? What kind of kingdom do we feel like we're in as a person? Just us. If you're just alone in the world, what kind of kingdom are you? And what kind of leader are you of that kingdom? It's all about self-care and how you treat yourself, even in your thoughts. And the axis for an Aries falls across your 5th house and your 11th house. That symbolizes your social world to a high degree, also your sense of fun and adventure. But it's certainly how you connect to others. So this is, highly applicable to you, this message of how you connect both to yourself. Do you have a fun kingdom? We've got the 5th house activated here with Leo, which is where the moon is on the 31st. Is your kingdom fun? Are you having fun? How are children treated in your kingdom? Your inner child, but how are the children treated around you? How do you lead? How do you lead your inner child? How do you lead other children? How do you have fun? How do you create? What are you creating in the world, in the new world, in the new reality? What are you creating? Then we have Aquarius, which is governing, the masses, but also a sense of the independent streak. And part of the new reality is holding those two things in our mind's eye together and comprehending those two things at the same time as not necessarily separate. So it's the idea of the collective and the idea of a strong sense of independence. Understanding that those are not separate, they're really connected. And trying to, that's that shift in consciousness, expand your consciousness so you can actually get that those two things aren't separate. They just sound separate. We just think they're separate, but they're not. They're one in the same concept. But at first it's like a puzzle to try to get those two things to combine in your mind. But that's a part of this new consciousness. It's a part of the new reality. The people who get it first are more comfortable with what's going on right now. So for Aries, it's, really noticing what's going on in the world of people around you. Are you having fun? How are you connecting to the collective? What is your mission in terms of that? How do you lead yourself? How do you lead by example? Who do you surround yourself with? And are you honoring your own independence and your own boundaries? That's what I would be thinking about, Aries, during this eclipse. So take care. Hi, Taurus. So this is Leah at Fresh Astrology. Hello. We are looking at the eclipse of January 31st, 2018, and where it falls in your chart and some of the larger themes, what you could be thinking about. So we're dealing with the sign Aquarius and the sign Leo. Those are the two signs impacted. They're opposite each other on this kind of circular chart. And when we are on Earth, we're looking at things in kind of a 360-degree view from Earth. So that's why it's kind of why the chart is circular. And in terms of, if you think of the sky in terms of one side of the Earth versus the other side of Earth, on one side we have Aquarius, on the other side we have Leo. And so if you draw a line between them, you've got the straight line, that's the axis. That's the kind of the zing of the eclipse is hitting across that axis. And on your chart, this has a lot to do with your work, your career, your public image, and a sense of privacy, what goes on in private, what goes on at home, and how those things are not diametrically opposed or not necessarily separate. Part of the new consciousness and the new reality, which is very much represented by these eclipses and by certainly Aquarius's role in these eclipses, is this ability to hold two or three seemingly diametrically opposed concepts or seemingly separate concepts in your mind at one time, and seeing that maybe they're not separate at all. Maybe they're very much one thing and we just think they're separate. We just look at it from different sides and we think we're looking at two different things, but it's really two sides of the same thing. So this idea of home versus career, private versus public, they're really the same, but we just look. On one side we think, well, this is public, and on the other side we think, well, this is private, but we're really looking at the same thing, the same ball. If we're looking at, conceptualize whatever we're looking at with this eclipse as just one ball of stuff. It's learning that what we think of as separate concepts are really the same. And at first it's kind of a head scratcher, like, what? What are you talking about? And that's the shift in consciousness that people, one by one, by hundred, by thousands, are starting to be able to shift their ability to see in a different way, their ability to comprehend on a mass level, but it's also very individual. When you have your own shift, kind of your aha moment, when you kind of expand your awareness so that you do see what I'm talking about, you do see what this is, it's a big moment personally. So it feels big. So it's very much an individual internal process, but it's going on collectively. And so it's a big thing that's happening. It's a part of our new reality. It's part of the new normal. But not everyone's as far along with it. Some people are struggling with that. They have no idea. Like, there would be people who would watch this, have no idea what I'm talking about, and just not even be able to hear it. It would just sound like I was saying blah, blah, blah. And I've even had people make comments like blah, 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 and they don't get it. They don't, and I understand that. But it's not that anybody who has this comprehension is superior. It's just, again, it's a very personal experience. The planet is undergoing change, and it's just going to be kind of like dominoes, and there's some dominoes that get tipped over first, but they're not better than the dominoes that haven't gotten tipped over yet. They're just still dominoes, and they're no different. So it's not like I'm better than you because I understand something you don't understand yet. That would be silly, because nobody's better than anybody else. So, but there is, like I said, some people have, dominoes have tipped over first, and there's going to be kind of a chain reaction, but some people just hasn't reached them yet, but they're no better or worse. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that. So anyway, but you will, in terms of the areas of your life where you're going to feel the shift the most, or the domino that might tip you, or you'll feel the tug most, is how do you want to, how does your private life merge with your public life? How does your public life and image merge with who you really are? How does who you think you are merge with who you maybe really are? Deep down, authentically. How is your past holding you back from your future, your potential? These are kind of the things to be noticing. How, in terms of how you were raised, how you were, trained to think as a child. What can you let go so that you can move forward and progress and expand your own consciousness and awareness? And how much do you care about your image? How much of that can you just let go? Can you be more transparent? Like, why have the division between? I mean, I believe in having some private life and having a boundary that people should not overstep. So there should be this idea of a protective space where you can be and have quote unquote privacy, but that doesn't need to be a huge division. You want to be, I would think, it's certainly easier to be. You expend a lot less energy fighting against it if you can just be who you are, publicly and privately. How can you resolve those two spaces, those two areas of life, so that they're more one? Because really they are one. That's the thing. We think, well, this is, like I said, this is my public, this is my private, but it's really one thing. How can you start living like that and feeling comfortable with that? All right. Take care, Taurus. Have a good eclipse. Hi, Gemini. This is Lee at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at the eclipse, January 31, 2018. And the two zodiac signs that are implicated here, and so even though these signs aren't you, they impact your chart. Because really we are all one. Everybody, Geminis really share in their birth chart all the signs. Scorpios share in their birth chart all the signs, even though the sun may be in Scorpio or the sun may be in Gemini, when a person is born, they have the whole chart and the whole zodiac impacting them and giving them strength. So even though you're not an Aquarius and you're not a Leo, maybe, although maybe one of your rising sign or moon might be there, but even if they're not, it still impacts you, because Aquarius impacts a part of your chart, and that is the 9th house area. That can symbolize travel, school. It's kind of expanding your philosophy, learning more about the world, strengthening your mind, strengthening how you see the world, enriching your mind, enriching how you see the world, challenging your mind, challenging how you see the world. And then we have Leo on the opposite side of the chart, so that's where the moon will be during this eclipse. That is also in an area of mind and learning and communication. So these are both areas of communication and mind. So many of you might find yourselves in situations where you're learning a lot, where maybe you are learning a new skill, or maybe you are in a university program, or maybe you're thinking about applying to a university program, or maybe you're just on your own learning a lot. Often here, this is an area that can impact people who are merchants or in sales. So there may be some of that going on for some of you. Marketing can be implicated here. The legal world and contracts are implicated here. So on a mundane level in daily life, those are the things you look for. Certainly travel, both commuting closer to home and long-term, long-range travel on airplanes. So a lot of you may find you're back and forth, or you're on airplanes a lot for some reason. A lot of travel going on. And I would think for most Geminis that's quite fun. So why this is important to you? Like, why is it important that you're traveling a lot? You know, why is it important that you're learning a lot right now? Well, I think the way you're adapting to the new reality, the new normal that's going on, all this change that's happened globally and in our societies, and personally also on a deep individual level, we're all changing and shifting so much. And for you, and you're such a thinker, the 3rd house is your house. I mean, that house is ruled by Gemini. So it's so important what's going on right now. Geminis have a lot to share with the world. The way a Gemini thinks and what a Gemini can help communicate and share with the world is so important right now. So the role you play in this new normal, this new reality, is probably what you can teach others. Maybe because you're traveling the world or traveling more, you're gaining this richness of experience that helps not only enrich you, but down the line will help you enrich others. What you're learning right now not only helps you expand your brain power and your ability to comprehend, but somehow you play a role, Gemini, in helping others to comprehend the situation, the new normal. This new shift in consciousness. You can help through your communication skills and through your mind and your ability to absorb things like a sponge. You're helping others, or you can help others more quickly understand, because you're going to understand it on a deep mental level. You're going to grasp things that others can't. And for you, it's also understanding that this area of like the small commute and the big commute, the tiny daily learning, the little learning, and the big learning, it's all related. It's all one thing. Getting that picture. Understanding that everything really merges together as one, even though you think they're different parts of life and they're unrelated. Maybe if you have children, understanding that the young ones, or what they do when they're young, impacts what they do later, going to university or not. Understanding the connection between how a child forms its brain and mind and growth early, and then how it ends up, putting that whole picture together. So children here play a theme, whether you have them or not. Understanding education, the big in a big sense. You know, maybe you work or you form policy, or again, if you have children, or maybe you're helping someone else understand about their children. But that's a big part of it too. That you have something, you're here for a reason. Your communication skills are needed. Your comprehension needs to be shared with others. That's a big part of your new normal. Take care. Hi Cancer, this is Leah at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at the eclipse of January 31, 2018, and what area of the chart is impacted and some of the larger themes, how you can move through this eclipse and what you can be aware of as you do. So the eclipse falls across Aquarius and Leo, and in your chart, this hits across the axis of your second house and your 8th house. The second house is where you find people earning money, spending money. You often see kind of their day job here. This is where someone's day job is likely to be. Then the 8th house is where a person is managing and organizing finances on a larger scale, such as investment, such as real estate purchases, selling of real estate, inheritance, taxes, structuring your will, structuring a trust, or being the recipient of a trust, how you feel about money, how you feel, how you are psychologically and emotionally around the topic of money. We see a lot hidden here in a person's chart. And in your chart, you know, this is where it's very active right now. So the psychology of money is a big topic for you for whatever reason. On one level, very internally, you're on your own journey to understand how money works and getting the feel for how to earn money, how to spend money. This is a big part of your journey right now in this new reality, in this new world, in this new consciousness that we're all becoming a part of, some sooner than others, some later than others. It's this dawning awareness of money for you in particular. And because it's happening for you and you're a part of the collective, it's like a lot of you are here, all of you really are here, but some of you are going to be kind of jumping on the bandwagon sooner than others. But you're here to help other people understand about money and work and you know, how to earn a living. And maybe there's, you know, people talk about the new economy. You know, this new economy, which is a reality. The old economy, the old way of making a living, the old way of doing business, it's all falling away. You know, I'm using this idea of dominoes today. You know, one domino goes down, another goes down, and it's just falling away, so that there will be no dominoes standing from the old structures of economy and commerce and how to earn a living, how to support oneself, how to live, how to create a lifestyle. This is all changing, and so much of how we live revolves around money, the energy of money, how we make it, how we spend it, how we manage it, how we feel about it is also so important. More and more people are understanding that how you feel about money and the deep beliefs you have around money actually impact whether or not you have it or whether you feel you have it. Even if you have millions in the bank, a lot of people with millions in the bank don't feel they have millions in the bank. They feel like paupers. And so something about Cancer during this time of great change is you're helping inform, maybe leading by example, because Leo, which is opposite Aquarius, and this is where the moon will be in the eclipse. Leo governs leadership. And there's this idea, many Cancers are leaders in their field or at work or in an office setting. Many Cancers take that role. In part, it's because of this paternal, maternal way they come at things. They become leaders because of that desire to be maternal or paternal, to nurture things. So often they become leaders because they care, and you care. So often you have a pathway to leadership due to your nurturing behavior and the way you kind of naturally fall toward that or flow toward that or become attracted to that. And people peg you as a leader because they notice that about you. That's the way you lead. And so there's this idea in this set of eclipses and just in the new reality as we're, you know, all these shifts are occurring, there's this idea of a new way of leading, a new way of demonstrating leadership. And we see really, in this time of change, we see really bad examples of it and then really good examples of it. And so in a way, it's the Cancer mission to help show us a way forward, and especially leadership around money and commerce and ways of doing business, ways of building a lifestyle in this new reality with money and commerce. It's totally changing, and it's like, and some people feel like it's like the rug being pulled out from under. And as that happens, there's something new coming up. You're a big part of this, and you help inform us about that. So it may sound really big if you're just like thinking, well, I'm just this little person. Think about how you do it in your own life. How do you lead at work, in your own job or career? How are you feeling about being a leader or owning responsibility? How are you feeling about your income? How do you feel about how you spend? How do you feel about how you manage your money? How do you feel about other people managing your money? Is there a need to have it be more individualized, so it's you, or there's also this sense of the collective? And can you deal with both? Because what can seem like a duality, the individual versus the collective, it's really this one ball of stuff going on in your life, but it's all related, it's all one thing. So we can trick ourselves into believing, like, I'm independent, I'm doing all, and we're looking at this side, and we're saying, well, I'm independent, I'm doing it on my own, I want boundaries, I don't want to do it with anybody else, I want to be an island. And then there's this side, which is, I'm a part of a collective, I need to work with others, being a part of the collective is important too, or just a part of the reality. And then it's understanding this is all one thing. This is not a separate thing. These are all related. Even if you feel like you're an individual, you just want to do yourself, you're always connected to the collective, whether you want to be or not. And in the new consciousness shift that everybody's making in this new reality, it's being able to hold in your hands and in your mind the two concepts, or more than two concepts, that seem totally different, but being able to stretch your consciousness and understanding so that you see they're all related. It's a big mental, emotional shift we're all making together, and some are making it more quickly, some not. And again, to be clear, the ones who haven't come along yet are not less than or worse than or stupid or something. It's just, if you look at a long, complex chain of dominoes where you start with one tipping over and then it starts tipping more, you can think of one person's consciousness and then it tips the next person's consciousness, and it's this long global, if all people are dominoes. The dominoes at the beginning they're not better dominoes. They're just the same as the one at the very tail end. You put them together, they're similar, exactly the same dominoes. Maybe they have different numbers of dots on them, but they're not, the first domino is not better than the last domino. So I want to be clear about how I view this. It's not like if you've kind of grown and expanded your consciousness lately and you can observe about other people, maybe they haven't, you're no better. I'm no better. It's just we're among the first to tip. And so that's what's going on. And you may feel you're in the process of tipping, like something's pulling at you, but you can't quite understand what's happening. There's some feelings of restlessness and that something big is going to happen. That's what happens before you kind of feel maybe the rumble of the dominoes leading up to you tipping, but you don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you're next. And then your consciousness will expand and you'll just see things in a whole new way. And that's a part of our new reality. All right, take care, guys. Hi, Leo. This is Leah Precious Astrology. We are looking at the eclipse of January 31st, 2018, and how it impacts you and the world, basically, because it's one and the same. So, Leo, you are definitely personally implicated. The sign of Leo is a part of this eclipse. It's where the moon is during the eclipse, and it's a full moon, so the moon is on the other side of the earth from the sun, and the sun is in Aquarius with Venus and Mercury. And on a chart, what these areas also represent are the first house, something we call the first house, and something we call the seventh house. And if you draw a line between these 2 points, it's a straight line. So it's this axis that hits across kind of a circular plane. And that's the area that's getting zinged by this energy of this eclipse. And with the moon in Leo, certainly the way you feel about things and the way you express yourself, and also the way you lead, the way you show by example, the way you demonstrate is very important. On the other side of the chart in the 7th house, it's also how you see others, how you learn about yourself through others, and through your experience in relationship and with the world of others, how it comes back, reflects back to you, and how you act as a result, how you move forward into action as a result of what you've learned, learning about other people in relationships. What are your observations? And so it's a self-learning, it's a learning about the self and who you are, and it's a learning about the other and how to be in relationship. How are you in relationship to others? What have you learned through relationship? What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about certain truths in life based on relationships and how you play well with others or not, through your lifetime? We've all made mistakes in how we do or don't play well with others. And so you've come to a certain point in your life where you're really learning and seeing some things, many of you, not everybody. Some people, the light bulb goes on sooner. And what I've been talking about with other signs is this idea in this new reality, this new consciousness, this new business paradigm, this kind of new global change that's happening so quickly now. It's as though we're all dominoes in a very complex chain reaction. And so the first dominoes to fall and shift and grow their consciousness are no better than the dominoes at the very end of the chain. They just happen to be the first that tipped. And so in no way, shape, or form am I saying that if your consciousness hasn't expanded yet and you don't understand this new normal, this new reality, or how to adapt, in no way, shape, or form are you less than. But you can learn and adapt. You still have the capacity. The dominoes are falling quickly through the chain of dominoes, and eventually the people at the end of the chain will shift and move forward into the new now. It just you can't avoid it. But some people have been already in this domino process. Some people haven't. That's just the thing to understand. But the dominoes are the same. No one's better than. They're just dominoes in a progression of shift. But a part of what you can do is notice that while you are an individual, that's one concept. You are a distinct individual in many ways. There is this thing that's called, internal self, and there's this stuff that seems like it's outside of you. These are perceptions, but what's shifting is this idea that you're totally separate, that the outside world isn't also you somehow. And so when you have this opposition between the 7th house and the self, there's this mirror. And so for some people, you'll be able to understand that the other is also you. Even when you look at a tree, even when you look at the sky, it's also a reflection of something about you internally and who you are. And it's beginning to understand the world in that way, which is very different. It feels very different. And some people are making that shift now or have, and some people it has yet to come. But certainly with these eclipses, it speeds things up. So a lot of people might be having this light bulb go on, understanding that what's really, what it seems like on this side, well, I'm an individual, I'm separate from you, I'm disconnected. And over here, it's like there's this collective, we're all the same, we're all connected, we're all one. Really seeing this one thing. They're not, it's all a part, it's perception, like I perceive it on this side, I perceive it on this side, but it's one thing. And that's a part of this expanded understanding that people are beginning to get. And that's the big underlying theme here. And some of you are going to be really kind of quickening Just like what happens in birth, where there's a quickening of a birth, something birthing, that's happening with this perception for you. And it's definitely through your relationships and how you interact and how you spring into action as a result. So happy eclipse, Leos. It's going to be very interesting. All right, take care. Hi Virgo, this is Leah at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at the eclipse of January 31, 2018, and where it falls in your chart, and the bigger and smaller themes around the eclipse. So in your chart, you have this axis between Aquarius, which is where the sun is in the eclipse, and Leo, which is where the moon is in the eclipse. This axis falls apart across your chart in the areas we call the 6th house and the 12th house. And they're on opposite sides of the earth, or the representation of earth. And if you draw a line between 2 points, it's a straight line. This is an axis that falls across this kind of circular plane. And so that is the opposition that happens in a full moon and in this particular eclipse. So when you talk about Aquarius, you're talking about the collective of humanity, and also the sense of the individual, strong, independent individual streak, and a sense of wanting a boundary and space. But it is also the collective. And what we're learning in this new shift, why these eclipses happen and what they're bringing forward into our consciousness collectively and on an individual level, is that what seems like two things. So let's say we've got this ball, and on this side we have the perception of the individual, and then on this side we have the perception of the collective. And we can, in our minds, previously and more traditionally, we tend to think those are actually two separate things. The individual, the individual's over here, it's separate from the collective that's over here. But in reality, it's all one thing. And so the new shift in consciousness is helping us see, expand our view so we can see, because before it was like we really only could see, like we could go over here and see this one thing, and then we could go over here in our mind and see this other thing, but we could not see that they were connected. And so the shift in consciousness, on a very simplistic level, is understanding it's all connected. And so the area of the 6th house and 12th house for you have to do with health and mental health on a very deep level. So it's your overall well-being based on what's going on in your mind and how you're treating your mind, how you see your mind, how you understand yourself and what's going on in your mind. Can you see in there and really notice what's happening with clarity? And also in your daily life, your daily habits and rituals, can you see there's a dawning awareness of how what you do each day impacts how you feel, how you live your life. So it's everything to do with health and wellness, but it's also how many hours are you commuting a day? Do you sit in a cubicle with no windows for 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours a day or longer? What do you think? Like if you're just standing way back from the situation and you're looking at, like, there are these people who are a part of nature, and for 8 hours a day, for some reason they've decided that it's a good idea to go into this false environment with no light, no fresh air, no access to the sky, the sky or plants, and they go sit, down in stillness and do stuff on a computer for 8 hours at a time. If you step back from that, it kind of starts to sound crazy. And so there's this realization for many Virgos out there that how we spend our days. So it goes beyond fitness and going to the gym. It goes beyond what we eat. It goes beyond the 8 glasses of water and the sleep. It goes into, like, how are we actually spending our day? And are we spending it like, would a Martian, or an alien think we were insane? How are we spending our time? And does it feel purpose-driven? And how does it make us feel? How does how we spend our time make us feel, Virgo? How does it make you feel? How you spend your time? That is what it's about for you. And the dawning awareness that comes with this, for those of you who can, kind of experience this dawning, expanding awareness and get kind of this eagle eye or alien eye view, like get really far away from it so that you're not even a part of that culture that does whatever it does. Does it seem sane or insane, the way people spend their time? And how are you a part of that? And how can you change it? Because eclipses are times of change. And the world's changing whether you want it to or not, whether we want it to or not. So the new reality, the new economy, the new consciousness, it's all becoming more and more real for more and more people. So as you become aware of your own situation within it, what does it compel you to do? What seems like a saner solution for you? That's what you're paying attention to now. All right, take care. Hi Libra, this is Lee at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at January 31, 2018, the eclipse. It's a full moon, and the sun is in Aquarius and the moon is in Leo. So in the sky, they're directly across, from our perception on Earth. They're at opposite sides of the Earth. And when you draw, a straight line between the sun and the moon, kind of on a two-dimensional grid, you get this axis that cuts across the circular plane. And on this axis in your chart, it's falling across two areas of the chart. One is called the fifth house, what we call the fifth house, and the other is called what we call the 11th house. And so you've got the symbolism of those two signs, Aquarius and Leo. You've got the symbolism of the fifth house, and you've got the symbolism of the 11th house. Then you have the symbolism of the moon, and you have the symbolism of Mercury, Sun, and Venus. Venus is your planet, by the way. And then you also have the nodes. You have the North Node in Leo and the South Node in Aquarius, and the symbolism that adds to the picture. And so in the telecourses I'm doing, we pick things apart and go into depth on like each one of these things and how you can plug all the pieces together. Here we're just going to talk in kind of a larger sense about what all this means. But essentially, kind of the underlying meaning of this eclipse for everyone is kind of a dawning awareness that's going on. And it's a part of the new economy, it's a part of our new reality, it's part of this new shift in consciousness. They all go together. And it's this domino effect of people, kind of the light bulb going on in each person's mind through time. And so so I'm equating it kind of to dominoes. Like some people have already totally expanded their consciousness, and they're kind of leaders in this new reality, in this new economy. They're the first dominoes that fell. And if you think of all of humanity as this long, complicated chain of dominoes, the dominoes are falling quickly and in succession, and the chain's already started. All this change is already rolling through humanity. Some people it's happened, some people it hasn't. It doesn't make anybody better than another person. I want to make that clear. So the dominoes that fell first are no better. They're not better dominoes than the dominoes at the end of the chain or in the middle of the chain. We're all just, the same dominoes, maybe with different spots, different numbers of white dots on us. But we're all the same essentially, but not everyone has had that light bulb of awareness go on, and they can't quite grasp yet the new reality, the new economy, the new shift in consciousness. They haven't been tipped yet. But some people understand exactly what I mean and have had this happen, or some people feel very strongly that it's just about to happen to them, and it's a very unsettling feeling. It can be a little scary, and can make people start to even experience symptoms of anxiousness and sleeplessness, and just this big sense of something's happening. I don't understand what's happening, but I know something's happening. And then some people are just completely unaware, but it doesn't mean they're less than. They're just further down the chain. So anyway, specifically where you're going to see like the ripples of change come out the most is in the area of children, your creativity, how you express yourself creatively in the world, how much fun, like really examining how much fun are you having in your life right now. You know, are you having fun yet is a really good question to ask yourself, seriously, because there can be some confusion about how you spend your time and how you divide up your time and how that nurtures you. So it's really important to, you know, a big question that can kind of get you there faster to this light bulb and this shift is, are you having fun? If the answer is no, or not always, or not really, this is where your attention needs to be. And it has a lot to do with who you're interacting with, who do you surround yourself with. Do you have friends and groups of friends who nurture you? Are you feeling nurtured? If the answer is not really, or I don't know, I'm not sure, or definite no, then this is where your attention needs to be. This is where the big light bulb, the big, like, I think the big aha moment's going to come when you realize you need a whole new circle of friends, or you need to have fun, and you need to figure out how to do that, because no one's going to make you have fun. No one's going to hand you that new circle of friends. It's really something you've got to realize you need, and once you see that awareness, you can more quickly bring it in. If you can't quite see it yet, the clarity is almost like it opens up a channel for the change to come more quickly. If you're not having that clarity yet, it kind of acts as a barrier. So it's seeing that you need fun in your life, however it comes in. Some people it's through their children and learning to have fun with their children even though they're teenagers, learning to have fun with your children even though that you've got 3 under the age of 5, learning how to have fun just being by yourself in a room with a rubber band or a brown paper bag. Like, how can I have fun even though there's not a lot of, you know, obvious fun stuff around me? How do I create my own fun? And how do I express, how do I create in the world? What do I bring into the world? And what am I birthing and giving birth to in this world? That's what your contribution is to the new now, the new reality, the new shift in consciousness is what you're birthing through your own creativity. And there's sort of a blessing with it. You provide that for all of us in a way. So all of us have a vested interest in all Libras, you know, seeing this. You know, the more you see it, the more we'll all see it. And the more you see that it's important who you surround yourself with and that you have nurturing groups of people around you, the more we'll all see it. So you provide this larger lesson for all of us, Libra, and we need you. All right, take care. Hi, Scorpio. This is Lee at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at the eclipse of January 31, 2018, and the larger implications and also where it falls across your chart and kind of what you bring to the equation, what you may or may not be experiencing internally. So very much like Taurus, you are experiencing this across the axis of your chart that runs between this very home-oriented, private part of your life. It also can represent your childhood and how you grew up and your parents. It definitely cuts across this axis of parental impact, like the way your parents impacted you or impact you now. It can sometimes have to do with your own parental role, how you are as a parent. And it's home and privacy and family in the past. And then on the other end of the axis, we have, you know, your public life, the way people see you, the way what you think of your own image, how much you care about your own image or not. Maybe fears of being seen for who you are, fears about how people see you. Some of that may be coming up. So a part of the new now, the new reality, the new economy, this new shift in consciousness that's impacting the entire planet. So this is the area where the light bulb may go on for you, or maybe has already. But the light bulb is about being able to expand your consciousness to see things in a new way, or not. This may not be your eclipse to do that, but the eclipses are pushing you forward toward that. And so something about what you do for a living may be a part of that. You may be taking on a role in the world more visibly, so that you lead as the moon represents the mother, and the mother, leads by nurturing. So you may be taking on a more nurturing kind of role to help others toward this new reality that we're all moving toward. And we're in it, but it's how we adapt as creatures, as living creatures. How do we adapt to this new reality that we're in, and this new shift of global consciousness that is happening, whether we want it to or not. It's just, here it is. You can be a leader in this, and you can lead kind of in this nurturing way. That's a role that you can play. It's almost like a parenting role for the planet or for others. And you lead by example, demonstrating how to nurture. And that's just a big part that you play as a Scorpio. And what's important for you to expand your own consciousness and to adapt for yourself, to be able to adapt to what's happening around you, maybe in the economy and in your role within it, is to be able to see a new way. So part of this I can explain by doing this with my hands. And so let's say on one side, you're looking at your role as at home within the family. Like, here you are over here. I'm looking at myself as in how I grew up. I have this private life. And then over here, I've got my public life and what I do out in the world and my image, this very public image, and how I want people to see me. And maybe fears. I don't want people to see my past. I have fears about people seeing all of me. And over here, maybe wanting to kind of represent yourself a certain way. And part of this new light bulb moment that people can have that kind of quickly expands their ability to see and to understand and comprehend is this moment when you can see that these two things are actually one thing. It's all the same. Your public life and your public image is this. It's related. So even if you behave very differently at home and there's stuff you don't want people to see about you, it's so related to how people see you. So there's no hiding, but we can, our perception thinks we can hide. Our perception can trick us into thinking, well, at home I can be this one way, or people don't really see all this about me. They don't comprehend who I really am. And it can trick us also into believing like who we want, or what we want our image to be, this public self is actually separate from, we can trick ourselves into thinking that they're different. But it's far healthier, and it's a part of reality, that it's really all the same thing. And so the more we can hold two separate ideas and begin to see that they're connected, they're not separate, that's a part of this new reality that we're in. It's a part of the new economy too. This ability to understand things in that particular way is a part of the future, and probably the people who will lead the economy will understand this very well. And they'll not only understand that two things are one, but they'll be able to understand and grapple with even more than two things are one, or that everything is one. And we do, in the telecourses, we do exercises to try to even stretch ourselves to be able to do this. Even if we can't yet, we do exercises that help us focus on more than one thing at the same time, so that we can start stretching those muscles of comprehension. But it's something that will happen for you in the domain of private and public self. That's where that light bulb's gonna go zing, and maybe it's already started to light up, or maybe it is, it's already happened. But with these eclipses, it'll happen, even like the light will go brighter. Even if it's gone on, it will get brighter. You'll see even more. This is where your comprehension will expand. And this is also where you can lead the way and help all the rest of us. So thank you, Scorpio. All right, take care. Hi, Sagittarius. This is Leah at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at the eclipse of January 31, 2018. And so we're looking at the area of the chart where this hits for you, and sort of the larger implications and also the individual implications. So the area of your chart impacted has to do with something called the third house and something called the ninth house. They are directly across from one another. The moon is up in Leo in your ninth house. The sun and Venus are down in the third house in Aquarius. And for you, it's funny, Mercury's about to come in, or in the process of coming in. So it's right on the cusp of the second and third house. So there's a little bit of a message there for you, Sagittarius. So I'll break it down for you. So Leo up in the ninth house, Leo is a fellow fire sign, and this is where the moon is during the eclipse. And so Leo is about fun, play, leadership, creativity, how you express yourself. And the moon has some similar meanings, actually. The moon is emotional expression and how you express things like your feelings. And sometimes it's authentically who you really are, how you express who you are. And it also gives you an ability to be kind of like the energy of the moon, where you can nurture, or come across as nurturing. So if you're in a school setting, like a university setting, a teacher of some sort, or you're a student, or you're blogging or writing, public speaking, all these areas, these are areas where your own nurturing qualities can come to the front, and people can see you kind of as a leader in that way. Your desire to nurture, your ability to nurture, people can recognize you as a leader in this new reality, in this new normal, in this new economy, in this new age where we are. But it's like, it's almost as though it has the feeling for a lot of people like they were picked up in the middle of the night from one reality and dropped somewhere else in a new reality, and they're still, but it looks exactly like, in so many ways, the old one, that a lot of people don't even understand they're in the new reality yet, because it happened in the night while we were asleep. And people have this dawning awareness, like, oh, I'm in a new reality. And it's little light bulbs going off all over the planet in people's minds and awareness. It's also, I've been comparing it to a long, complicated domino chain of people and consciousness awareness, where, there were the first dominoes to fall, and then this complicated process of more dominoes, more people becoming aware that they're in this new reality. And then there will be the final people to kind of wake up, in a sense. And so I don't know where each one of you is, but the area of life where you will experience this and have impact yourself on others around you is in this area of school and learning. And so it's learning on a skill set level. So on this smaller level, it's also how you read and write and do arithmetic in some cases. But it's so much about expression. It's really about writing and speaking. And this can be in more formal settings or informal settings, like, Twitter or Instagram or wherever. So it can be little quick exchanges, or it could be something more lengthy, like a book or a magazine article, or you speak at different places. Maybe you're in a situation where you're learning a lot right now, and what you're learning right now is so pivotal to the role you'll play in this new reality. So what you're learning about right now, what you spend your time learning about and reading, whatever classes you're sitting in, if that's a part of what your experience is, it's going to really form you and shape who you are in this new reality, in this new now, in the new economy, in the new age. And then there are some of you who are teachers, who are actively, you were maybe among the first dominoes, with the first awareness to kind of dawn, like, we're in a new age, we're in a new economy. And now you're taking on, in this new time, a role of teacher, to help spread awareness and help expand the minds of others. And even those of you who are still in a learning phase, you will eventually become teachers and help shine the light for others, so others can expand their sense of understanding in this new time. So part of this, so I've been doing this shape with my hands. I don't know if it's clear or not, but so here's this thing, this one thing. And with our perception, a way, like the old way of seeing things is we would look on this side and see, well, this person's in elementary school and learning how to write, and they have their little grade, primary school teachers, and that's cute, and they're just learning how to read and write, and kind of see it as this tiny little thing that you just do with kids. It's just part of what people do. You educate them in this little. And then on the other side, we see like philosophy and religion and who people become as thinkers and how they understand life. And so we see that side, especially when they're older. And then we go back to seeing somebody young or learning a small skill, maybe just learning some small little thing we think is small, like learning how to operate a computer for some people, or learning a new application or a new software, a new way to, just for the first time getting on Instagram. We see that over here as like this tiny thing, like, oh, I finally learned how to do that, or I finally got on Facebook. There are people who've not yet gotten on Facebook and they don't want to, but maybe they'll get on Twitter. And that's it's seen like with perception, the eyes of perception, the lens of perception, like, oh, that's cute, they got on Instagram. And then, you go over here and you see like all this global change and big philosophical shifts in religion. And part of this new world that we're actually in, that we're still kind of understanding with dawning awareness that we are in, is seeing that these things are very much related. So the tiny thing you learn over here in childhood, or the tiny little skill you learn over here, very much has to do with how you see the world, your capacity to understand on a much larger level. So the microcosm affects the macro, and the macro goes back and informs the micro. So it's all related, and that's a part of this new now. And part of the new now is being able to see what seemingly seem like two different things as one, that they're totally interconnected, and one, in fact, one. And that's a part of our new age. So, excuse me, I've got like hair frequently falling on my face. It just itches. Anyway, that is where you are getting kind of zinged the most. So I think the idea of school, learning, broadcasting, communicating, that is where your world is changing quickly. So happy eclipse. Take care. Hi Capricorn, this is Leah at Precious Astrology. We are looking at the eclipse of January 31, 2018, and where it hits your chart, and kind of the bigger meanings, the smaller meanings, how you play into it as a person. So, because it doesn't happen to you, you happen to us, you happen to the world. You have a role to play. So that's one thing to understand. So anyway, Aquarius hits your chart in what we call the second house. This represents what you do every day to make money and how you spend money. So how you earn a living is very, very important right now. And it's quickly changing your ideas about what that would be and what makes sense for you, what constitutes a part of your new economy, so to speak. And then the other, where Leo hits your chart, that's where the moon will be on the eclipse. So the sun is in Aquarius with Venus, and also Mercury kind of on the cusp, about to come into your second house. So there's this push of Mercury there too. On the other side, we have the moon in Leo and the north node. And really we have that south node opposite back down by the sun and Venus. So there's this nodal axis too, which can, when something comes across, like the sun, the moon, Venus, or anything really, comes across that nodal axis, it kind of has like a zing, it does something. You feel the ripple effect. And so there will be the nodal input as well. And the nodes have a lot to do with your kind of karmic destiny. So that's why it feels so karmic for everybody. There is this true shift of moving more fully into the new reality, the new economy, the new consciousness. Understanding that that's where we are is a part of this eclipse pattern. And so for a Capricorn, it has a lot to do with the idea of money, finance, how you earn, how you spend, how you feel on a psychological level about money, how you maybe prevent abundance and wealth, or maybe how you build it. And of course, it's all connected, it's all one. So there's also this idea here. So I'm using my hands to help illustrate, hopefully, something about this new shift and what's happening for you. So on one hand, part of our perception wants to just look at like the second house, where we have the South Node, and the Sun, and Venus, and then we got Mercury coming in there, and in Aquarius, the themes of Aquarius. So on one hand, we're looking at this perception over here of how I go about my day-to-day earning money. How does money come to me? How do I earn it actively? What do I do? What actions do I take to specifically earn money or get money? So there's that like small way of looking at it. And with themes of Aquarius here, Capricorn often wants to be the boss or have some freedom to do it the way they want to do it. You'll find a lot of Capricorns wanting to have their own business or a lot of freedom within their job. They don't want to be micromanaged. They need people to back off. They need direction and help sometimes. They want to feel a part of things, but they need also they hate micromanaging. So there's that. And so there's a strong influence with the Sun and the South Node and Venus there. And then on the other side, over the Leo part of the eclipse and the axis on the chart, we've got the Moon in Leo. So Leo loves to have fun. Leo loves to lead. So here we have this theme of leadership again, with respect to work and needing to kind of be like the star or appreciated, just adequately appreciated. Maybe no more than one deserves, but certainly no less than one deserves. So Capricorn has a strong desire to be appreciated for what they contribute and how they contribute to the larger picture, especially from partners in business or in love or anybody that could be deemed a partner. The Leo needs to know, like, I'm appreciated for my contribution. And if they don't feel that way, it feels very bad for a Leo. And then so you've got the Moon and they're amplifying that in that North Node. So the Leo over there is like, there's this larger financial picture that has to do with real estate, taxes, investments, and just the big picture of financial strength or the foundation of your finances. Maybe in a business, maybe personally, probably both. And the Leo's feeling about this and the way you're feeling about this at this time is like, I contribute and I want to be recognized for that. I need to have a feeling of being honored and recognized for how strongly I support whatever this whole financial picture is. And it's how well the Capricorn feels they're operating with others in the world of finance or at work. They need to feel that sense of independence, probably some leadership quality, and also being recognized and appreciated. And so if you're going through job changes or looking for a new job, this will come up, and you need to honor these things about yourself. You want to be in an environment where you feel you'll be appreciated for your strengths. You want to be in an environment where the whole, like if you're going to get a job, you want to look at the structure of that company, wherever you would work, and see, are they strong financially? Will they give you what you need? Does the job, in the job description give you enough independence? Are you going to be micromanaged? Pay attention to that. What's going on in your current job? If you're being micromanaged and you're not feeling appreciated, you need to get out and get a different job. So it's understanding that this feeling of, how a company runs their business and their how strong they are financially, has a lot to do with how you feel about your day-to-day work. So it's really connected. This is all one thing. We might go over here and just think with our perception, what we do day to day to earn money. We might think it's not related to what the larger company, or maybe what our partner in marriage, or just a romantic partner, somebody we have partnered up with, that has nothing to do with who they are or how they manage things, but it's very much connected. And a part of the dawning awareness of the world, in a lot of ways, is seeing that the way a business runs itself and makes decisions impacts the individual. And the way an individual maybe acquiesces or agrees to be a part of that system allows that system to continue or not. And so a part of this new economy is more and more people are deciding, I'm not feeding that system that treats me badly, doesn't give me pay increases even though the upper management gets huge pay increases. I'm no longer participating in that system. I'm done. You see more and more people doing that, whether they go out and work for themselves, or they still want to work for a company, or maybe start a company. It's like, that's not good with me. They may think they continue to run that system and that will keep working for them, but I'm not going to participate anymore. I don't know how I'm going to change, but I know I'm going to change that. So that's a big part of what's going on for a Capricorn, is like, what kind of system do you want to be a part of in the financial world, and how people build lives for themselves. You may be helping others with this. You'll certainly be seeing for yourself how you want to live day to day, how you want to make your money, and how you want to connect with what could be management within a company, or maybe you managing your own financial space and being your own boss. So it's going to come across, for different Capricorns depending on age and situation. If you're not in the working world, this has more to do with maybe your marriage or partners or inheritance, like where does your money come from? There are going to be some issues with that. How are you growing as an individual based on that? There are going to be some aha moments, like maybe somebody who has parents who've always taken care of them. Maybe they've got a trust fund if they're really lucky. And trust funds is like a double-edged sword. Maybe they're discovering, maybe the trust fund runs out, maybe something, a parent passes away, and then you're left on your own. And so it's about that dawning awareness of what do you want to do? How are you going to create the new reality? How are you going to be part of this new economy and this new shift of awareness? How are you adapting to what's quickly happening to the planet and the economic system? Have you grasped that yet? And so, how do I want to end this? I would just say, definitely, if you're feeling unappreciated and like you're not getting the recognition or the sense of independence and leadership you need, which you crave, that's a part of who a Capricorn is, change the situation, change it. You might not be able to change it overnight, but start working to change it for yourself, because that'll be a big part of your future. And the people who kind of sit because it's like, I'm scared of change, I don't think, or they have a lot of excuses why they can't, it's just going to hurt. It's going to become increasingly more uncomfortable. So I would say try to proactively plan out how you're going to start implementing a change that brings you to a place where you feel better about money and about how you earn your money, about your whole financial situation. All right, take care. Hi Aquarius, we are talking about the eclipse on January 31st, 2018, and you are the star of the show, whether you know it or not. And your energy and what you bring as a person, as a sign, as a collective of Aquarius people on the planet, you bring us something important, and it will be subtle feeling to you. Sorry, let me just, we're talking about Aquarius, but I moved the chart too much, so it looks like I'm looking at a Pisces. Let me just fix it real quick. I jumped too far. Okay, that's better. All right, so the way this axis falls on your chart is between the first house and the seventh house. So what's opposite of you in the chart and in the sky as relative to Earth is Leo. And much like the Leo portion that I did earlier in this forecast, you're looking into a mirror and learning about yourself through looking at others and interacting with others. You begin to learn more and more. It informs you about yourself, and vice versa. And in this loop between the two houses, you learn about yourself and it expands your awareness of others. You learn about yourself, it expands your awareness of others. You learn about others, it expands your awareness of self. And there's just this loop, this feedback chain going back and forth between these two areas of life. So it could be, if you're married, there's just a lot of intensity and learning through this relationship, or dating heavily, or deciding to live together unmarried, but there's just a lot of learning going on in this process of being in that relationship. And it can also be a business relationship, how you're learning through working closely with others, more about yourself and also more about them. There's like this, the truth of, more truth about humanity, what it is to be human, that's coming to light in your awareness. That's a part of what's going on for you. And interestingly, you're leading the way, like your energy and who you are, and you personally can actually help. Even if you're not aware how you can do it, you actually can help this process for everybody by quickening your awareness around this process and learning more. The more you learn about yourself and the more light bulbs that go on inside of you, once you have that awareness, it will change who you are, how you act. Not completely change who you are, but it'll change the way you see the world totally. And it will inform your actions so you start to behave in new ways. It will totally change your life once these light bulbs go on. Now, the light bulbs are going on for different people at different times. I'm sort of comparing it to a domino effect. So all the people on the planet are dominoes, and we're in this complicated arrangement pattern so that eventually we'll all shift into this new awareness. But there are other dominoes that have shifted first and fallen first and impacted the other dominoes. And I don't know where each one of you are on this chain of domino reaction. Some of you have already shifted into this new awareness and consciousness, and you're leading the way. Some of you are down the chain and you haven't been hit yet with this new kind of awakening shift in consciousness, this new economy perception, the new now, the new reality. So some of you, again, you're aware, like you'll know if the light bulbs have gone on. It's a big process. It's very impactful to a person. Usually around the time all these light bulbs go on, can be kind of chaotic in a person's life and maybe even uncomfortable, but there's all this growth, this personal growth that happens. So you know if you're among those. And the process isn't always or usually overnight. It's usually kind of a sequence, and that's why we have these sequences of eclipses that move us further along as a group and individually. And so what this means for you is a further awakening in this area of self-perception, which also informs how you see the world. And it really can be very dramatic, actually, where just you go from a feeling of darkness and being enclosed to all lights going on in the universe. And it can be just like going from a dark place into bright sunlight, where it's a little disorienting and almost hurts, and we always have to filter the light a little bit so we don't get blinded. That can happen in our minds with awareness. And so you're somewhere in that process of huge personal change, of understanding yourself and understanding the world. And as you do that, your behaviors will start to change, and you're actually helping lead the way for all of us in many ways, as all the Aquarius people out there who have, whether it's rising or sun or moon, as your perception starts to shift and change and you see things in this bigger new way, and it expands you and your sense of joy and peace and connection to everything around you, that change within you ripples out and impacts the planet. So you're playing a very important role. We need you, and people will be looking to you, noticing changes that are going on. And just know that you play a very important role. All right, take care.